All right. All right, we're all right. I think we are live, so I think we're ready to go generally. Let me just prop everything up. All right, so yeah, let me let me redo the intro real quickly. All right, so welcome to the cover pass. The cover pass is going to be the very last pass that we're covering over on our live stream lectures. And then we're going to be moving on to a next type of move for the next live stream series. But I'll go over that at the end of the live stream. But yeah, without further ado, I guess let's go over the cover pass. I mean, we could get over it too because I'm so over it. But that's besides the point. So yeah, let's get into the cover pass. So the cover pass is essentially a secret cutting action that occurs underneath one or multiple cover cards. I only do a cover pass that occurs underneath of one single cover card, so you'll be learning that. Anything else that's like more than one card, I don't really do, so you won't be learning those. But there are handlings that allow you to do a pass underneath of more than one cover card. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you that just in case you wanted to learn some of those, but I'm not going to teach those here. But something that I realized over the course of my Magic career, I guess, is that not a lot of people know what a cover pass is. I mean, it's pretty interesting because I remember like Andrew Frost, posted a video of a cover pass not too long ago. I know it's like bad timing on my part, especially because I'm teaching it, so it is bad timing. But he posted a video on his Instagram with the caption cover pass, and people were like, how'd you do a classic pass with no flash? Usually the top card would flash when you do a classic pass. Or someone was like, is there a Herman pass with a break? Which is a weird thing to ask, because what sort of Herman pass, or what sort of pass in general doesn't need a break? So that's just like a weird thing to ask in general. So I realized that the move is in the caption and they still don't know what type of move it is. So I'm like, maybe not a lot of people know what a cover pass is. So it's like, yeah, that's I don't know, that's just a really bizarre realization that I sort of discovered along the way, I guess. So yeah, I don't know what kind of tangent that was, but yeah. So let's go over a couple of pros and cons regarding the cover pass, I guess. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through my notes. So some of the pros that you might see regarding a cover pass, especially for not this handling, cover passes in general, they do have like a sorry, what the frick? I do not care. I don't know why they sent me like a survey type of deal for this, but that was weird, I guess. But anyways, let me just rewind. So when the rewind again. So a couple of pros that I might find regarding the cover pass, not just my cover pass handling in general, but like cover passes in general, is that it's basically a pass but without like more angle issues, right? So it does cover a couple of angle issues that some people might have regarding a classic pass. So when you do a classic pass, I already explained it over the live streams and whatnot. But when I explained the classic pass, I actually gave a lot of details regarding this specific corner, right? So when you do a classic pass, because of how this packet is being dragged away, right? This corner, the bottom left corner, is guaranteed to flash, right? But because of the cover pass and how it has a cover card on top of the pass, when you do the cover pass, you won't flash this bottom left corner, right? So that is an advantage of the cover pass that the classic pass just doesn't have, right? Another thing regarding the cover pass is that if you really think about it, the cover pass is a slip cut, right? So let me just give you an example. So let's just say I have the 2 of clubs on top, right? And I have the 5 of diamonds, right? When I do the cover pass, right, I'm essentially doing a slip cut, right? Because if I have the 5 of diamonds in the center and I have the 2 of clubs on top again, and if I just did a slip cut, that's essentially the same exact action as a cover pass, right? The only difference is, well, I'll get into that later, but there is basically one difference, and it's not really regarding like mechanics. It's more or less regarding property, but I'll get into that later. But one thing that the cover pass, like the other passes, like the Herman or the classic pass does, is that it has an inbuilt context of nothing happens, right? So when you do something like a let's just say you do something like a when you do something like a cull, right, you can say that, oh yeah, I closed the spread, right? So something does happen, you're closing the spread. But especially when it comes to passes, right, when you do this, because the deck doesn't change any state, right? Because it remains in its constant like position or whatever, right? You can say that nothing happened, and that is the context behind it, is that technically nothing happened, right, in the external reality. But again, I'll get into that a bit later on. But there are a couple of cons regarding the cover pass as well. So one thing is that I just said there's no like outer reality because there's nothing happens technically. Yeah, there is technically no outer reality for the cover pass in general. So when you're just doing a cover pass, you're just standing there awkwardly, because why would you do anything, right? So you're just doing this. Oh yeah, here. Oh yeah, what a nice day, right? What a nice day. Yeah, I screwed up this coin. Yeah, right. So your hands are just together for an awkward amount of time, and you need that to accomplish the mechanics. But context-wise or external reality-wise, nothing really justifies it. So it like from a spectator's point of view, you're just standing there, right, doing this, right, and then you're doing something else. So there's no context behind it, right? Another con behind this move is that, man, it is so slow. It is such a slow way to. It is such a slow move. Like, I don't know if I mean, I posted this on Instagram. I also posted this on YouTube Shorts. But when I was doing the cover pass, I think that to take like from the square up, well, no, it was from the selection to the pass, right, to showing that the card went to the second from top position, right, that took 9 seconds. And I mean, I guess 9 seconds, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it doesn't sound too bad. But 9 seconds, especially if you're performing like really high energy and whatnot, 9 seconds is so drawn out. 9 seconds is so long. So it's just generally a very, very slow move, and that is why I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the cover pass. Another thing is that it's such an unoptimized way to get a card second from top. If you really think about it, why would you do a secret cutting action to get a card second from top? That doesn't really make any sense, right? Usually, I mean, if you're a magic person, I guess, if you're a magician, you would just do like a tilt, right? You would do a tilt because that's a lot more effective, because you're just placing one singular card second from top, right? That's way more effective and efficient as well. But for a cover pass, well, look, I have to retain this top card, and I have to cut this packet to the bottom, and I have to make sure I don't flash anything, and it's also very slow. So it's just very inefficient. It's so unoptimized that it drives me nuts that people are still like, yeah, cover pass, yeah. But it's just like, yeah, I hate this move so much. But yeah, the last disadvantage or the last con for this move is that unlike the cover passes or the other passes, right? The not the other cover passes, but the other passes in general, right? So the Herman, the other classic pass, the free turn pass. So unlike those three types of passes, this move doesn't preserve stack order. So when you're doing a pass in general, when you're just cutting the cards, you're essentially just giving the cards a cut, so you're preserving a stack of cards, right? So if you're doing Pneumonica or Cy Stebbins or the Aronson stack, right? All of this is technically still in the same order. You just need to undo a cut, and then you're back in the original stack order, right? But for the cover pass, because this card stays behind, when you do the pass, you're disrupting the stack order, and that is a disadvantage for some people, right? I mean, you do get the advantage of like, oh yeah, you get a invisible pass technically, but you do have to sacrifice some things for it. And I guess like some people might not like. It doesn't matter for some people, especially not for me, because I don't do like stack work, but for some people who do stack work, it is not the best thing ever, right? So yeah. So let's compare the cover pass to just some different moves, right? Some different slides. So as I mentioned before, a cover pass is essentially a slip cut, right? This is essentially just a slip cut, and that is that's the cover pass, but done in an overt action. So when you do a cover pass, because of the context that, you know, nothing happens, right? Nothing happens and you're just doing this, right? You can say that it is a covert action because it is an action done without like suspicion from other people, right? Or without like an external action, right? But when it comes to the slip cut, you have to execute an actual cut to accomplish what a cover pass would do covertly, right? So you have to do an actual action in the external reality to accomplish a slip cut, right? So that is a disadvantage. That's like a comparison is that while they accomplish the same thing, like mechanics wise, the slip cut, there is an external reality of cutting the cards versus the external reality of the cover pass, where it's like nothing happens, right? So that's two different things. Now regarding the tilt is again another move that gets the card second from top or anywhere from like around the top, right? Again, there is an overt action of you taking the card and then slipping the card second from top. That is an overt action. There is an external reality to that. But for the cover pass, again, there's no external reality. You're just doing nothing, technically, right? So again, there's an overt action of you taking the card and slipping it somewhere in the center of the deck, whereas the overt action of the cover pass is closing the spread, and then that's it, right? So that's just another comparison. Now the last move that I'm going to compare the cover pass to is a classic pass, but you're doing it but you're doing it with an extra card, right? So you pretend you have your two of spades and you just add this card on top, and then you just do a classic pass, right? So let's just compare that to a cover pass, right? Generally, this is more efficient because of how much faster the classic pass is, right? Rather than having to do this and then right, to accomplish what a classic pass would do with an extra card, right? Now this I mean, I guess it depends on what you want, but generally I would say that having a classic pass, doing a classic pass with an extra card on top, right, is a lot more efficient than just doing a cover pass, because of how much faster it is, right? Because of how much faster it is, and you also have the added bonus of preserving stack order. right? So again, like I mentioned before, if you're just giving the cards a cut, you're retaining stack order. But if you're just leaving the top card behind while doing a cut, you're not going to preserve stack order. So there is that sort of disadvantage, which you don't get, especially when you do a classic pass with a extra card, right? Now there is now the comparison is that when you do a classic pass with an extra card on top of this, that's a blank card. Okay, when you do a classic pass with a card on top, right, you're going to get this flash regardless, right? But that's the whole point of the cover pass. The cover pass is that you don't get this flash, right? So it all depends on what you really want. But personally, I would just do like a classic pass with a extra card on top of the selection, because why not? Yeah, it's so much faster, and it's just like, yeah. But again, it all depends on what you want. Yeah, personal preference. That's the crux of Magic. But yeah. So let's move on to the history. The history behind the cover pass is generally kind of interesting. So there are mentions of a cover pass back in 1896. 1896, it comes from a magazine. It's German, so I can't pronounce it, but it's by Frederick W. Conradi Horster. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And the problem with this historical reference is that it's not really a fully fleshed out description of the cover pass. It's like a really brief description of the cover pass, but it's so brief that we can't even tell if it's a classic pass or if it's a hermit pass. So it goes like, it's so like brief that we can't even tell that, which is sort of interesting. But that's where I believe the first mention of the cover pass comes from. The first fully fleshed out version or description of the classic pass or of the cover pass comes from Ellis Danion's Magic. Magic was first published back in 1903, and that's where the fully fleshed out description of the cover pass comes from. But as we've come to know, it's actually not Ellis Danion's move. Ellis Danion actually got that move sent to him by a letter, right? A letter that was sent to him by someone by the name of Clinton Burgess. Clinton Burgess sent the description of the move through a letter, and I guess over time it just became attributed to Ellis Danion. So yeah, that's a misassociation or miscrediting, even though we do know that the move has existed over like for so long, right? Because since the 1800s, again, it's been like 1896, so it is an insanely old move. So that's just an interesting part of the cover pass. Sorry, I just need to drink some water because it is pretty dry today. But yeah, let's get into the main mechanics of the cover pass. Generally, I do like to start off the cover pass from a spread. And the reason why I start off from a spread is because, well, this has the same benefits of the classic pass. So if you remember the classic pass, when I do the classic pass, I actually just prop this deck up into the fat of my thumb, right? And I do this as I display this card, right? So that is a bonus of doing it from a spread. So if you don't remember it from the classic pass, or you're new here, when I spread the deck and I have a card selected, as I'm showing it around, I'm actually just taking my thumb over here, my left thumb, and I'm going to lift this deck portion, right? So when I lift it, you'll notice that the fat of my thumb goes along with my thumb, right? And through this, I just need to release this packet through my thumb, and now you'll notice that the bottom left corner of this packet is now resting on top of the fat of my thumb, right? And the reason why I do this is because when you do a classic pass, if you noticed, right, when I do a classic pass, I have to shift this deck upwards regardless, right? If I do this step in advance, this means I don't have to shift the deck upwards anymore. I can just go directly straight into a classic pass, right? So if I do that with a cover pass, I get the same benefits. So now I don't have to, so now when I do a cover pass, I don't have to shift this deck upwards. Now this deck is already shifted upwards in advance for a cover pass. So that is an added bonus to why I do it from a spread. But the other reason why I do the cover pass from a spread is because this actually allows me to start the pass in advance, right? So I'll get into that a bit later, but generally I started from a spread because of efficiency, right? Because one, I can start the pass in advance, and also two, I can basically optimize my pass, right? I can basically just pop it up and yeah, just skip a step in the pass mechanics, I guess, if that's how you want to describe it. But the very next step that you're going to do from a cover pass is that when you have everything spread out over here, so I'm just going to do it face up because, yeah. So as you return this spread onto the selection over here, you're actually going to move your index around to the left, to the right long edge of the deck, like so, right? And you're basically just going to curl in your index, right? This is basically what happens. So I'll just do a right. So basically, when I close the spread, I move my index off to the side and I move my middle ring and pinky finger out of the way. So now this packet is basically clipped in between of my thumb and of my index, right? And you'll notice that it's basically just the first joint only. And the reason why it's just the first joint only is that if I wrap too much of it, well, now my joint is going to be the first thing that contacts this packet, which is something that isn't really ideal, because the reason why I have only the first joint like wrapped around this is because now this card, the card that's like in the spread, or like the first card in the spread over here, contacts the nail instead, which means that there's less friction. Because if I had my joint on top, if this contacts it, there would be too much friction and this card would be left behind, which isn't something that I want to do, right? Because I know like some people like to have like this or whatever, but personally I don't really like it. So that's why I want this card to glide on top of this packet over here, right? And also this having the nail there does benefit the mechanics later on, which I'll get into just a bit later, right? But generally I do hate grip changes when it comes to moves, right? So when you see me doing like a Larry Jennings bottom palm, the bottom palm usually requires you to shift your mechanics there and then do the bottom palm. I don't really like to do that because, again, I hate grip changes in general. But the reason why my index moves is that there's two reasons. Is that it leads into the ending of the cover pass, so I let slide, and also it leads into a different sort of move, and that's also why I have my index move. I wish there was a way to optimize it, but you know, for now, I think I'm generally happy with it. So yeah, but you spread the move out. You spread the deck out, you have a card selected, you move your index off to the side with only the first joint curled around the deck, and your thumb is basically off to the side at this point. It's like, I guess it's sort of diagonal. It's not necessarily straight on, because again, this bottom left corner is resting on the fat of your thumb. So even if you wanted your thumb to be straight, it wouldn't be anyways because of how it is. So you want your deck to be in this position. So bottom left corner resting on the fat of your thumb is diagonal to the left long edge of the deck, and your the joint of your index finger is curled on top of the deck, like so, right? And now you're going to close the spread. I mean, the fingers sort of move out of the way, so your middle ring and pinky finger move out of the way as you close the spread, right? And now because your left, I still had the card reversed over there, but when you close the spread, because your left thumb is in this position already, you just need to lift up your thumb, give way to the spread, and just like lower it until it just contacts the top card. And that's where you're at right now. And the great thing about the cover pass is that you don't even need like to apply pressure with your thumb. Your thumb just needs to stay there, and through pure friction, look at it, this bottom packet is already moving out of the way, right? So I don't even need my right hand for this packet to sort of move out of the way. So it just needs friction. Where is my selection? So, card selected, close the spread, lift up the thumb, and just place on the top card. And now you'll see that because only my index is contacting the bottom of this card over here, there's no friction, which allows this packet to slide out seamlessly. And we're going to help with that as well. So this is going to be a mess. So card selected over here, right? So man, how to describe this? Because you're doing a couple of things at once, right? So when you close the spread, you're placing your thumb on top, and then after you're done placing your thumb on top, you're also going to transition your right hand into a billow grip. So if you don't know what a billow grip is, it's your middle ring and pinky finger are on the front short edge of the deck. Your thumb is on the back short edge of the deck, and your index is just curled on top of the deck, right? And so now you have your bunch of your packet over here, and you're also going into a billow grip, like so, right? So you'll see that the billow grip actually hides the mess over here, okay? And so I grip the deck in a billow grip, and you'll notice that my thumb is actually on the leftmost corner over here, because if I went over here, if it went more over in the center of the deck, like so, I would be gripping this packet as well, which would contribute to more friction, and that's something I don't want. So I want my thumb as much out of the way as possible. So I want it to be in the leftmost corner as much as possible, okay? And so as I do this, when I grip, so there's basically 3 steps that's happening when I'm doing the cover pass, right? So one is when I close the spread, I place my thumb on top. The other thing that's happening is that I'm moving into a billow grip, right, for my right hand. And then the third thing that's happening is that I'm tilting the deck off to the side. And because of the nail, because of my left index's nail, because there's no friction, this packet is going to fall out, right? And because this packet is falling out, now I need to curl in my middle ring and pinky finger, which allows this packet to be caught over here, right? So this is the state of the deck without my right hand. But because my right hand is currently hiding it, this is what you get, okay? And yeah, so this is the current state of the deck. So you'll see that the card is basically propped up like so, and this packet is sort of just leaned off to the side like so. I can't really adjust it. I wish I could, because if I did, this packet would fall out. But yeah. So this is the current state of the deck. And now there was a problem where some cards were left behind. So if I did the cover pass, right? So if some cards were like left behind during the cover pass, right? If this happens to you, what you could do is that you can just let gravity take over. So eventually, if you tilt the deck enough, these cards will fall out because there's no friction keeping them here. So the moment that these cards fall out, what can happen is that now you can just grip everything, right? Because all these cards are out because of gravity, you can just grip everything, and now you can complete the cover pass, right? So if cards are still being left behind, just let gravity do the work, and then they'll naturally fall out onto the rest of the cards. And yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. So yeah. So the next thing that you're going to do is that once you're in this step, you're basically clipping this packet in between of your middle ring and pinky finger and your index as well. So you have this packet clipped in between of these fingers, right? So you have this, and what this allows you to do is that now you can begin pulling this packet down, and once it's clear of this top card over here, you can then relax your fingers, which causes this packet to plop down into the palm of your left hand, and it could bring this packet to meet the top packet like so, right? So you just let it fall into your palm, and then you just bring it there, and then you're complete with the cover pass, right? So you're over here, you do your cover pass, right? So you let everything fall, and then you're basically in an upside down L position over here, okay? And now, if my camera would focus, so now you can relax your fingers and then bring this packet up to meet the other packet. And that essentially accomplishes the cover pass. So there is one thing that I do like to do, and that is after the cover pass, right? One thing that I screwed that up. One thing that I do like to do with the cover pass is that I like to have the thumb drag along the long edge of the deck, like so, right? And the reason why I drag it along the long edge is that so then, well, there's two different there's two reasons, or there's two justifications for the ending pose. So when I'm done with the cover pass, one thing that you'll notice is that I actually end in this position, right? Which is very different from a standard dealer's grip. And the reason why I end in this position is that, well, it mimics two things, right? It mimics one, a squaring action, right? Because I square up in this position. And the other thing that it mimics is a deck placement. So when I have to take a deck out of my hand and place it on the table, you'll notice that a huge amount of time when I do that, I actually curl in my index to give way to the front edge of the deck to clear out my index, and I just move forward, right? So ending in this position lets me mimic two positions. So on a whim, I can either do a squaring action or a placement action. So that's the main reason why I have the index curl at the bottom when I end a cover pass. So yeah, that's just something that I do. You don't have to do it, but again, it's part of the ending pose of a cover pass, so I might as well do it. So here are some general tips regarding the cover pass itself. So if you're when you're placing your thumb on the top card of the deck, it's actually pretty straight. So I mean, sometimes you'll see me do this, but that's just because it's like an artifact of my old cover passes. So when you're doing a cover pass, preferably this thumb should be straight, right? And this thumb should only be contacting the upper left corner of the deck, right? So around here. So this should be the only part of the top card that your card is contacting. And don't worry about this card like swerving around. Your right hand is going to fix that anyways. So when you go into a billet grip, this basically stabilizes the card, which allows you to do a cover pass, right? So you don't have to place too much of your thumb on it, right? You just need to place like just enough to let this card stay behind, and that's enough to let this card to just let this card stay behind, and you can accomplish the cover pass, right? So it really is friction based, so you don't need to apply pressure at all. The other thing is, the other general tip that I can give you is that the best angle for the cover... Stop giving me a blank card. Sheesh. But the other tip that I can give you is that the best angle for the cover pass, as you've seen throughout this entire tutorial, is from the top, right? From this angle, this is where the best angle for the cover pass is, right? Because that's where you get the full... That's where you get the full cover of this top card, right? Because if I need to do the cover pass from the front, right, you would see this packet like clearing the other packet, which isn't very elegant, I guess, and it doesn't really contribute much to the mechanics of the move. So preferably when you do a cover pass, you want this to be like the only thing that they see, right? If it's anything less or more, I guess it doesn't really matter, but you don't want too much of it or else it will flash, okay? And the other tip is that if this top card moves a bit, right? So if this card, sometimes if you're too like tense with it, you'll see like this buckling action or whatever. If this starts happening with your card, just try applying a bit of pressure. Just try pushing down with your index finger, right? So just push a bit down with your index finger, and this will counteract the movement of the packet below. So the main reason why this card starts moving is because the packet is contacting it and it's just flailing around, right? So you're gonna counteract that by applying pressure with your index finger. So that's just another tip for the cover pass. So the last tip that I can give you regarding the cover pass is that if there's a clicking action, which can happen, sorry, I'll just try to get it. Right, so if that happens, I don't know if you heard it, but probably. So if that happens, it's probably because the packet is trying to free itself before it's clear of the top card, right? So the reason why there's so much noise is because this happens, right? And so how you want to eliminate that is that you really want this packet to clear as much of this top card as possible, right? So if you start doing the cover pass over here, you're guaranteed to have so much noise, right? But if you're doing it here, look at how much the card is, this packet is clear of this card, which means that when I start doing the cover pass, barely anything scrapes against this card and no pressure builds up, right? So if I just do this, right, there's not a lot of the packet that's contacting the top card, which allows it to basically minimize the clicking noise. So those are 4 different tips that you can bring into your cover pass. So let's move on to the top bottom cover pass. It's basically a simultaneous top and bottom card cover pass. So I guess I'll just do that real quickly. If I can find my cards. This is gonna be hard, so I don't know how well I can do it. So Queen of Diamonds, 7 of Clubs over here. Oh boy, that is bad, but doing it live is like that. So yeah, so it basically preserves the top and the bottom card as well. I screwed up some of the stuff. Hold on, I gotta rectify my mistake real quickly. Oh boy, that's loud. Yeah, but that's something that you can do, and that is something that I'm going to go into right now. So this is an additional bonus of having the index off to the right long edge of the deck, right? Because now this means that you can use your index to count the cards, right? So if you have a bottom card that you want to preserve and a top card, you basically just do the classic pass as per usual. But as your index is bringing this packet around, what you can do is that you can actually count the amount of cards that you want this this packet to go above of. So I want like 1 card, so I can just count off this Queen of Hearts, which means now I can just so it means now I can just sorry, it's hard to do it from this angle. So now I can just open up this break. All right, so this card is basically free, and now I can just relax my fingers, allowing this packet to plop into above of this bottom card, and now I can just close everything up, and that basically preserves the bottom card. So it's the exact same thing, but now I can just count off the card and then slip the packet above of it. Right, so that's the only difference from the normal cover pass. And so yeah, there are a couple of tips that I can give you regarding the top bottom cover pass, and that is if you're having too much trouble taking that bottom card away, so this card away, there's actually an easy fix for that. So one thing that you can do is that you'll notice that when I do the cover pass, this like knuckle, it's not really like a knuckle, but the base of my index over here is actually contacting this card over here, which means that now if I really wanted to, I can just shift the palm of my hand slightly to the right, which also lets this bottom card shift to the right as well, right? Which means that now when I do the top bottom cover pass, this index will have a way easier time gripping this bottom card and then allowing me to slip the packet above of it, right? So I can just do this and then do this, right? So that is an easy fix for the cover pass. Yeah, there's also there's not much use for just a single bottom card like cover. So if you're having trouble with just like 1 card being like the cover pass, the cover card, you can actually do it with a block. So if you have a card selected, rather than counting off 1 single card over here, right, you can actually just peel off a chunk of cards and then just do the cover pass, right? Crap. So this preserves a stock of cards, right? So if I did it with this block over here, right? So if I so I had this block over here, I could just do this, do that, do the cover pass, and then I could just count off this entire block of cards and then just slip this packet above of it, right? Oops, I broke the block in half. That's not good. But yeah, if you really want to, but yeah, there's not much use to preserve only the bottom card, so you can optimize it by just peeling off an entire block and then slipping this packet into it, right? So that's way easier because when you're doing it with a single card, there's not much support from the bottom card to an entire packet, right? So doing it with a block allows you to have more support for the packet, which makes it sort of basically easier. So yeah. Also, I forgot to mention this, but the top bottom simultaneous cover pass actually comes from a guy by the name of Goodlet Dodson. So he didn't really publish it, but he mentioned it briefly in a book called Expert Manipulative Magic back in 1933. There he says like, you can also maintain the bottom card as you do a top card bottom pass using your thumb. So that is something that is mentioned. Arthur Buckley, the person who wrote the classic magic book Card Control also has one in the Card Expert Entertains. So those are two of the oldest sources that I know of for the top bottom simultaneous cover pass. So yeah. So let's go into some covering actions for the cover pass. I mean, it's, yeah, but generally you can apply any sort of cover that you do for the classic pass onto a cover pass, right? So, whoops, what the frick? Sorry, I got confused. So one thing that you can do is that you can actually do a display pass. So if you don't know what display pass is, it's you show like, oh yeah, you have these cards selected and whatnot. So you can do that for a cover pass as well. It's the same exact thing, right? So you just do your cover pass, right? You finish your cover pass, and now you're just gonna peel off packets from the packet in your right hand. So your middle ring, so your middle and thumb are just gonna take packets off and just like plop them down into your deck hand as you show this bottom card in your right hand, right? So you're just gonna do this, right? So you're like, you can select any of these cards, right? So that's the display pass that you can do for the cover pass as a covering action, right? So here you can select any of these cards, and that is a covering action for the cover pass. The other thing that people do is that they actually do it with a riffle. So here you have your card selected, here cover pass, and then riffle, right? So it's the same exact thing. You just do your cover pass, and the card that's on top and the packet that's in your right hand, you just riffle, right? After you're done the cover pass, right? So here, cover pass, riffle. Right, I'm going over these relatively quickly because I already touched on all these for the classic pass, so I don't really feel like explaining them again. But yeah, if you really want to learn them, then you go over to the classic pass, because yeah. So the last cover that you can do is a dribble, right? So here you can do your classic your cover pass, and now with the packet in your left hand, just dribble the cards, and then you're done. Oh, turns out I already had cards reversed in the deck. Anything else? Okay, nope. Okay, perfect. So there's a couple of applications they can do. So one thing that you can do is that a control, obviously, you can do a control that is second from the top. So that's just the basic function of a cover pass. The other thing they can do is that it's basically a replacement for a slip cut. So if you're not familiar with a slip cut, this is a slip cut. Anything that requires a slip cut, you can do as you can replace with a cover pass. But again, because the cover pass acts as a covert action rather than an overt action, there are some different benefits to that as well, right? So you can go ahead and look at some slip cuts and see how the cover pass can replace it. The last thing that that I guess is that you can sort of apply the cover pass into is sort of to transition into a half pass. I'm not going to teach the half pass here, but one thing they can do for a cover pass is that because you have this cover card, you can basically just transition into a half pass, right? So if you have you don't even need a card selected, but if you just have this and you want to reverse like this packet over here, you basically just do a cover pass, and then as you're bringing this packet down, rather than letting this finger relax, you just bring everything to the bottom like so, and that reverses this card. So you can do a cover pass and then a half pass. Again, I'm not going too deeply into this because I don't think it's mine, and also it's like, yeah, I'm not going to go too deeply into the half passes in general, because yeah. So I'm gonna have a new segment, and that is called taking a look at moves from the external reality. So let me just show my face real quickly. So I hate passes, and it's mainly because they sort of look stupid, right? They're mechanically really interesting, but they kind of look really dumb in the first place. So the external reality is for a cover pass is that your hands are together for a bizarrely long time, right? So obviously we as magicians know that if we're doing this, yeah, cover pass is happening, right? So if I do anything like this is a cover pass. We automatically associate that with a cover pass. But that's the internal reality. That's how we perceive moves. That's how we perceive decks, right? But from an external reality, from a spectator's point of view, this looks really stupid. Why are your hands together for such a long time? That makes no sense, right? You can add a covering action, that's true, but that won't change the fact that you have to do this and then do the covering action, which is like, why? Right? So it doesn't change the fact that there's a bizarre delay in the external reality before you have to add a covering action, right? It just looks stupid, and also like no amount of like justification can sort of cover that, because again, the covering action takes place after this thing, right? If it took place during this, that would be a different story. But because the covering action has to occur after the shift is done, that basically gives it like that. There's no point in a covering action at that point, right? Because I don't care. But sorry, there's a somebody keeps calling me for some reason, but yeah, but because the covering action occurs after the spectator is already like, why are your hands together for such a weird time doing like this, right? Because it occurs after that, there's basically it's impossible to justify why your hands are like this. If it occurred as you did your cover pass, that's a different story, because the external reality would be, oh, he's dribbling the cards. But now the external reality is, why are your hands together for such a long time and then dribbling the cards, right? So it's just really bizarre. So one thing that I like to do is to show the pass from a distance. To just show the pass from a distance in a context of a routine. So yeah, let me just do that. Right, like I guess we as magicians would be like, oh yeah, that looks fine. But also as a spectator, you'd be like, why is he rubbing the edges of the deck so much? Like, that's just weird. So historically, I understand why the pass became such an important move, right? I mean, I spoke about the history back in the classic pass section, but with all the technique and all the theory that we have, it's like, especially today, it's sort of baffling how passes are still relevant today, right? Because again, there's no context behind these moves, and they also just make really no sense that you're just like talking really energetically and then you suddenly slow down to do a move, right? And then you move on, right? It's so bizarre, and it's so weird how not many people question it, even though it should be questioned. I mean, I understand why we don't question it, because we're magicians and we see sleight of hand that way. But we should really start seeing moves from the external reality, because of how ridiculous some moves just look without proper magician-y eyes, I guess. So yeah. Now, if you want to learn the cover pass, there's a bunch of resources out there, right? So the first place that I learned the top card cover pass was actually from a download by Jason England. I'm not sure if he's still relevant nowadays, but back in my time, he was still relevant. I mean, he was the go-to resource for card slides. So Jason England has a download called the Top Card Cover Pass, which is on Theory 11. Harapan Ong has teaches the cover pass on his masterclass. The Card Classics of Ken Krenzel by Ken Krenzel, written by Harry Lorraine, is sold as an ebook, and yeah, he touches on the cover pass again. The complete Walton Volume 1 by Roy Walton describes the cover pass as well. Best of Friends Volume 1 and 3 by Harry Lorraine, it's sold as an ebook. The Paper Engine by Aaron Fisher, it's sold as an ebook as well, but he doesn't really go into the cover pass like the I don't think it goes into cover pass like in its cover pass form, but he goes into some handling or some touches into the cover pass. It's I don't know how to describe it, but it's not your usual cover pass, I guess, if that's what you really want to say. There's the Card College Volume 4 by Roberto Giobbi. There's also The Card Rate by Larry Jennings. It's being sold as an ebook on Penguin Magic. There's Repertoire by Asi Win. He goes over center block pass or something along those lines. And then there's Secret Agenda by Roberto Giobbi. So those are all resources that you can look at for the cover pass. And so yeah. And so that's it for passes. That's it for passes in general. I think I'm done for passes for now. I think in the future, I mean, I'll still work on passes. I mean, there's no way that I'm not gonna work on passes because, again, passes are flawed in nature, right? Mechanics wise, again, they're very interesting as moves, but because of how passes are, they're just flawed. Right, there's because here's the thing about sleight of hand. Sleight of hand is that we try to find perfection using imperfect methods, right? And passes are as imperfect as you can get, because on one hand, like they're really efficient, but on the other, man, they suck. So I think yeah, I'm just gonna be constantly working on it over like my entire lifetime. I think like even with like 5 lifetimes, I'm still not going to be able to perfect the pass, because you know it's flawed in nature. You can't perfect something that's like inherently flawed. But yeah. Anyways, I don't know why I went on that tangent, but yeah, I'm not gonna cover any more passes because well, I spent like the last last 7 months covering passes every month, and also I don't really have I don't have any more work on other passes. There's way more passes that exist, but I'm not gonna cover them. If you want to learn them, I'll actually make a video on a pass tier list. So tier lists are I'm just gonna like place my passes on tiers, in tiers. So I'll list all the resources for those passes in the comments below, as I usually do for any video that I do. If you want to learn passes, or if you want to use passes, then yeah, just use passes. But me personally, I think they're very inefficient moves and they lack proper context. You're just stuck with this, right? And people use that as an excuse. People use the excuse that, oh yeah, we're magicians, we can get away with that, to get away with that crappy context, even though realistically, if you're stuck doing this, that looks really stupid, right? But next stream series, I'm going to cover some classic color changes. So these are another type of classical move that I tried to tackle. I mean, passes are just one of those moves that I think everyone has some work on, and color changes are no different as well. But yeah, thanks for sticking around for this hour long video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments below. Again, I'll leave all the resources to the cover pass down in the comments, down in the comments. And yeah, in 2 weeks time you'll see this video pop up edited down with new footage and whatnot in a yeah, proper video edited down. So yeah, but yeah, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Also, I'll go like record the second video, so if you see me wearing the same exact clothes next week, it's because I recorded these videos back to back. So I don't only have one shirt, so you can be assured of that. But yeah, regardless, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you guys on the